Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. Right when you thought vampires were cinematically uncool after the suburban trashing they've took in the last decade, thankfully indie film has come and brought it back from the dead and made it cool again. With Only Lovers Left Alive, that film directed by Jim Jarmusch, this film is incredibly influenced by early Jim Jarmusch. Some have even said it's like if Jim Jarmusch made a vampire movie between Stranger Than Paradise and Down by Law. And I semi-agree, but what I think first-time director Ana Lily Amirpour does in this film is interesting. It's very Jarmusch. It has a Western influence, it has French New Wave, it has David Lynch. I've heard it described as a feminist Iranian vampire Western. What she did here is she kind of used influences similar to how Tarantino uses his influences, but it isn't like a Tarantino movie. It's just how she uses her influences. She combines them all in a kind of a weird postmodern blender and comes out with a movie like this. A town called Bad City, where all the rejects go. It looks like Southern California, basically. This film is actually in Farsi. You're not really sure where it is. It's a ghost town where there's the rejects of society and this girl vampire who's wearing her cater, walking around with this cloak around her, that the director thought of making this film because she thought it looked like a bat. And she walks around at night and kills her victims, and no one seems to notice because it's such a weird ghost town of refuge with not a lot of people. It looks like a weird French New Wave B movie that you always wished would have happened. The one boy, Arish, has a really cool Thunderbird car that he drives around in, but then is stolen by a gangster, and then the girl vampire, who's only just called the girl, goes and kills the gangster for other reasons, and he gets his car back, and then soon after, him and the girl strike up a kind of a romantic relationship, even though she's a vampire and he isn't, while he's trying to support his heroin addicted father. This is a film that has a ton of influences in it, and when you hear that, you think of what Tarantino and Rodriguez have done. And if you hear interviews with the director, you get that feel of those directors, but this isn't that. She is more interested in playing in the art house, making a strange. Lynchian and Jarmusch are more of her favorite cinephile directors. It's very stylized. It kind of reminds me of a time when B and underground movies were considered a major influence on Hollywood films. That's kind of around, but not as much. I mean, this is a film that's made for people who watch TCM Underground every Saturday, so I guess I would probably be kind of into it because I do that. Just watching this girl walk around in her cloak, walks around at night hunting these people in this weird ghost town. It reminds me kind of 90s films that were influenced by B movies, but your wildest wet dreams of what a B movie can be. This film has a way about itself that I didn't know about Bad City, for example. I had no clue that this was this town and all this stuff. I didn't even know it was called Bad City until we're quite far into the film. Maybe in a more traditional film they'd have a crawl explaining all that stuff, but it doesn't. It kind of just plays out, kind of like Eraserhead in a way, where Eraserhead, they don't go, oh, this is a dystopian future and all this shit. You just kind of have to figure it out. And she has a lot of faith in the audience. This is a director who really cares about the viewer and the experience, because it is quite an experience. And certain scenes, when they played out, I was like, what the hell is going on? And then once they ended, especially actually the ending, I went, oh, that was so cool. Having a director who has more faith in you is actually a really fun, interesting thing to watch. I can't think of many newer directors who are so interested in making a vampire movie in this kind of a way. Because this is an Iranian feminist film directed by a woman, a lot of people were first thought I had it wrong and it was like a different country than Iran, but also that this is a political film or had a message film or something like that. It's not. It's really kind of more about the experience of the movie, the style of the movie. So many people don't understand the fun of postmodernism and how you can combine all these older ideas and make something new. And I think a lot of people take the ideas that other directors have and just kind of make copies of that. But what Ana Lily Amirpour does in this film is she really combines so many different things. The indie rock, the music's so amazing in this film. I wish there was a soundtrack, at least a soundtrack listing or a soundtrack. I would buy it. I love the music in this film. There's a lot of like indie pop in Farsi, which was really interesting, is so alive with all these influences. You can tell this is the kind of director who's sitting there watching all these movies, watching all these influences, caring about Western, caring about hot rod kind of movies, caring about coolness, and knowing early Jarmusch in a way that I didn't think younger directors really cared about. It feels so Jarmusch that literally at the beginning when the guy gets in his stylish car, I almost thought about like, man, Tom Waits would be really cool right now. It was so much. It was just ridiculous. And that's what made me think of people like Tarantino, who know cinema so well and get all the influences and understand how to do them. And I see a lot of directors who clearly like kind of remember the influence or some shit like that. But this is a director who stays up all night and watches a ton of movies, who knows cinema, who knows the theory behind the cinema and gets all that and then can do something new with it, knows where it should theoretically go. It sounds like the quirkiest, strangest movie that you turn on and go, oh man, that was certainly quirky, but now I'm gonna forget it forever. And this was kind of more of an experience. I do think it was better directed than it was written, and this is certainly a film that's like more honestly about the direction, but the direction was so good you kind of let it go. There are some films where like that are so much better directed than they are written, and I definitely say that about this film, but I kind of feel like that was somewhat of the point. It really does remind me of a post-Tarantino way at looking at making movies, is combining everything you like into one thing and having a vampire movie with things that look very Western. Both Sergio Leone, but older Western directors as well. Like I saw some John Ford in there. And the black and white cinematography by Lyle Vincent is some of the best black and white cinematography I've seen from modern cinema. It's so dirty, but beautiful and beautifully framed. I mean, this has some incredible framing. Like sometimes I'll have things out of focus, but it's all purposeful in such a elegantly directed and planned out way. I never see from a lot of smaller movies like this. It's one of those films that I would like to see again to get more of it. I don't think there's like heavy, heady ideas within it that's going to make me think psychologically the way something like Lynch is. It's kind of a little emptier, and it's a cool little vampire film. It is a little slow, it is a little stranger and artier in how it flows and dips within its story, but it's really, really good at it that I don't mind. It's a very beautiful vampire film. If directors like Ana Lily Armapour are making vampire films, and Jim Jarmusch and Let the Right One In, and those three films give me faith in vampires again. They give me faith that it's still going to be interesting, that I'm still gonna wanna talk about vampire films. And vampire films have been around since forever. I mean, Dracula was at the beginning of sound film. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is like the cool art school kind of movie that I really love about cinema and I don't see enough of. It's more of like 80s art school kind of chic. I love the feel of this film. I love how it uses influences. It is a very different experience, and that maybe took me out of it a few times. There's certain films that I love their style over their storytelling, over, you know, maybe a little bit of emptiness. I'm not gonna say it's like an empty movie or something like that, because I think there is stuff going on there, but it is certainly more about style and the direction and the mood and that and the awesome soundtrack. It is one of the more memorable vampire films, and it's certainly, this new director Ana Lily Armapour is someone who I'm gonna see her next film without a doubt, and I'm excited for this new director, and this film makes me just as excited for her as it makes me excited again to see the whole idea of making like an art house kind of revisionist horror film, and this breathes new life into that as it births another new really cool art house director. Seeing a cool moody art house movie is just really what I needed right now, and I'm really glad that A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night gave that to me. So if you have seen A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.